business development at the right place and the lead of our rural team. Just a quick introduction for today. The purpose of this virtual roundtable is twofold. We really realize the value in connecting with your peers, not just locally, but regionally as well. We all work in rural areas of West Michigan, and we certainly have many things in common. So really, let's learn from each other so we can all be as prosperous as possible as we re-engage our local economies. The intent for today is really to be more of an interactive discussion, not really a sit and get sort of webinar thing where it's really easy to kind of zone out. So the more we can all share ideas and what we're doing to be successful in our communities and our businesses, the more valuable this time will be for everybody. And then secondly, today's discussion will assist our rural economic development team at the right place in identifying what's going on in the communities, current industry and business challenges, and everything related to COVID-19, which will help direct our work moving forward to be as beneficial as possible to the communities that we serve. So at the right place, we really focus on collaboration as much as possible. So you may know that the state of Michigan is divided up into 10 different prosperity regions, and region 4 there along the coast, that is our region, and you can see on the left-hand side, we at the right place directly serve 6 counties in that 13 county region. And with that, I'd like to introduce my small but mighty rural team here today. Julie, Jody, and Kathy Jo, you guys want to take a minute to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Good morning. Julie Burrell here, and I support Newaygo County.
Hi, I'm Jody Nichols, and I support Lake and Oceana counties.
And I'm Kathy Jo Vanderlaan. I'm feet on the street here in Montcalm County.
Awesome. And they're a fantastic team. Please use them as your resources in your communities. They're there to help and are always looking at ways to assist businesses and the communities that they serve. And that goes for me as well as being the rural team lead. I'm also the boots on the ground in Ionia County. And then our special guest co-host for today, Jay with Downtown Professionals Network. You want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Glad to. Thank you, Travis. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jay. Some have referred to me as the man behind the curtain of Reopen Main Street. I have been in the community and economic development field for more than 30 years. Was also a retailer in a past life. The last 20 years, I've been with Downtown Professionals Network, and have had the chance to spend an awful lot of time in Michigan. Off the top of my head, I'm guessing I've probably been anywhere from 30 to 40, at least 30 to 40 communities across the state. So feels a lot like home, and just really happy to join you here today.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Jay. I'm really looking forward to it. So just a couple of housekeeping things here real quick. Please keep yourself muted during discussion in order to limit the background noise. If you're unfamiliar with Zoom, you can, if there's anything up on the screen, you can kind of move around where the videos of everybody's faces are located. You can move them around just so you can see better. It might be best to switch to speaker view, just so you know you've always got the person talking on screen. We had about 90 folks register for this. So in order to facilitate questions and answers, if you have questions that you want to ask Jay, if you could just put them in the chat feature, you can do them to me directly as like a private one, or if there's something that you want to kind of share out to everybody as like an FYI, or, you know, this is something that we're doing in our town that maybe you don't necessarily want to like speak about, you can put that on there as well. So everybody will be able to see that. If at any time you need to exit the session, feel free to do so. We will be following up afterwards with an email to everybody with a recording of this, which I think we got perfected yesterday. So you'll be able to watch the thing back in its entirety, and feel free to share that out later. We're going to do our best to keep this to about an hour. But the last 2 days we've had still some good discussion towards the end. So a few people have hung out afterwards to just kind of continue that thought process. So if you need to take off, feel free. But if you want to hang around and chat a little bit more, feel free to do so. And if I call on you to answer or to ask a question, just please introduce yourself briefly with your name, your organization, and where you're located. So just a little bit of an overview here. We've all been thrown for a loop with this impact of COVID-19, obviously. I know in the community development world, a lot of times it seems like we're kind of building the plane as we're flying it. But if there's ever really been a time for unified, collaborative, and visionary leadership in our communities, I think we can all agree that now is the time for that. We know that nobody's been immune to the impacts of COVID-19, and we've all had to adapt, oftentimes without a roadmap to do so. But speaking of roadmaps, I'm hopeful, if I can find the website here. Jay has put together a site called reopenmainstreet.com. It's a resource that he and his team have put together as a guide and kind of a jumping off point for communities to strategize on how to come out of this crisis as resilient and prosperous as possible. You know, I think we'd all agree that there's no magic bullet for this kind of thing. But as Jay mentioned, his 30 plus years in this realm, those resources are really a great place to start. I had the pleasure of working with Jay a few years ago in a former life when I was Main Street DDA director up in Manistee, where our work with his firm to put together a market analysis and business recruitment strategy for our downtown really was the catalyst to get us really moving with some targeted business recruitment in our downtown that really bore fruit in terms of some new businesses coming into our downtown, including a destination dining restaurant, which continues to be an anchor in that town forward. So I guess without further ado, Jay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Travis. I'll have that $5 in the mail to you later today. Again, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I just want to share a little bit of what's behind Reopen Main Street and how we got to today, just as a way of kind of getting the discussion going here this morning. So let me tell you that this has evolved very rapidly, as you can imagine. It actually started probably 6 weeks or so ago. I was just filling up pages of a notebook with thoughts and ideas and meanderings, and finally I had a colleague encourage me to share that. And so the actual Reopen Main Street website that some of you may have visited, it's really less than 2 weeks old. And I have to tell you that the response has just been overwhelming. It's blown me away. As a matter of fact, I have many of you to thank for that, I'm guessing. Just in about 10 days or so here, we've had 5,200 users. And number one among that group is Michigan, with 510 users on our website. So as you can imagine, it's been a wild ride, but it's really been inspiring as well, as folks have found that as a resource and have also been sharing ideas and examples of what they're doing in their own communities. I have to tell you that I'm so pleased to be here today because I'm almost certain that this is the longest stretch that I have been off the road. I've missed that. Having the chance to spend some time with you here today really is helping me to get a pulse, a sense of what's happening on the ground there in Michigan. So really looking forward to hearing from you. I have to tell you that the website itself, the ideas that we're sharing with folks, they're just that. They're ideas. We're in a time here that is unprecedented. There are no real proven strategies, right? I mean, there's some best practices that we can carry forward, but this is a whole new reality that we're entering in. That's just an easier way, a friendlier way, I think, of sharing with you what my attorney says I need to share on on the website in terms of a disclaimer. their ideas. But we hope, as Travis mentioned, that it's a good starting point. The beauty of sharing and collaborating is we hope that we're planting some seeds that you and colleagues and members and businesses in your community can take and grow and make even better than what we ever imagined here. So the way that this came together, I mentioned just a lot of notes on in a notebook on paper. And what we landed on was really probably 8 or 10 kind of overarching ideas or common threads, if you will. I was just going to share 2 or 3 of those with you here this morning to get the conversation started. First, it's vitally important that we're doing everything that we can to enhance the comfort level. Just because when that day comes, for example, the governors in any of our states say, hey, we're open for business again, everything is open, it's not going to be a switch. Travis mentioned that we helped him out with a market study some years back. That's what I do with 80% of my time when we're not dealing with a COVID crisis. And really, yeah, we talk about numbers, but so much of it comes down to behavior. And behavior is going to be different moving forward. And just because we open up our doors, say we're open, folks are not going to come flocking back. As a matter of fact, we've seen some recent studies where about 30% of folks are saying, yeah, I'm going to go back to life as normal. But that means that there's 60, 70% of folks that are going to be very hesitant to make that first move. So enhancing the comfort level applies to our customers and our clients. It also applies to our employees. And one of the things that we're really encouraging is please engage, involve your employees in the planning process. It's going to enhance their comfort level. It's going to build ownership, and they can be your best advocates out there as we're inviting folks, welcoming them back. Do that now, communicate now, make sure even starting today that you're communicating with your customers, your clients, your members, your supporters. Let them know the actions that you're taking to enhance that comfort level and ensure that the environment is going to be safe and healthy and comfortable for them. One of the things we just shared this morning on Facebook is kind of a bonus, a Friday bonus idea. It's very old school. Some of you will laugh when you hear this. It's very old school. But we suggested just sit down today and make a list of your 10 or 20 best customers or clients or supporters or members, and then pick up the phone and call them. Don't text them, don't email them, call them. And take that opportunity just to let them know, check on them first, just do a wellness check kind of thing, but then let them know you miss them. Tell them, ask them if there's anything that you can do to help right now, and then take the chance to tell them about some of the actions you're taking to welcome them back. Second area, just want to touch on quickly, is adapting to this new reality. And this new reality continues to change every day, even by the hour sometimes. Businesses that, when the time comes to launch and reopen, businesses that go back to doing business as normal are going to be at a huge disadvantage. It's my hope that some of the things that businesses have done to adapt during this closure period or quarantine period are going to carry forward and make them better businesses moving ahead. But for those that just simply open the door and go back to doing business as normal, I'm afraid for them, quite frankly. So it means applying social distancing measures even after those guidelines are peeled back or expire. We need to be sensitive again to the folks that are going to continue to apply that kind of behavior in the public realm. It means thinking about e-commerce platforms. It means incorporating those virtual experiences as part of the business model. Thinking about different floor plans and layouts and merchandising techniques, amenities, if you will. There's just a whole lot that goes into that thought process. And it's not unlike when you flick that pebble into the pond and you see all those ripples moving out. Third, very quickly, experiment. As I mentioned, this is a brand new era. And so even as we are moving forward and trying to do the very best we can by relying on some of the things that we've learned over a long period of time, this is a great time to experiment as well. And it's okay if we try something new and it doesn't work. That's okay. This can apply to businesses. It can apply to Main Street and Chamber and DDA organizations. But I want you also to think about how experimentation in the public realm can apply as well. So I'm convinced that our public spaces, our streets, our sidewalks, our parks become even more important moving forward. Even, and it's kind of been kind of fun to see because I'm not taking credit, but one of the things that we suggested is, municipalities, please work with your eating and drinking establishments, even some of your retailers, to make sure that we can expand into the sidewalk area. And it's especially important for restaurants. I know in many states, as those restaurants begin to reopen, it's with anywhere from about 30 to 50% capacity. Restaurants can't make it, in most cases, on anything less than 80% capacity. So how do we expand that floor plan? How do we expand the footprint? Well, that whole idea of fresco dining out on the sidewalk, or even using parklets to accommodate those kinds of uses. If ever there was a time, now's it. Let's try it. Let's experiment with it. And even in some of our communities where, I'm guessing some of you have a main street that's carrying thousands of vehicles every day because it's a major state or a county route. And perhaps there has been the idea of a road diet previously. That road diet thing where we either narrow the lanes or we just even reduce the lanes of traffic or the parking lanes to make room for those kinds of activities, those commercial kinds of activities to spill out into the public realm. It's the time to experiment with that. And I think that those that are willing to experiment, those that have already begun to experiment, try things out and see what the reaction is, are going to be at a huge advantage moving forward. So I think I'll stop there. I'm looking forward to hearing your questions and your ideas. So Travis, maybe we can go there next.
Yeah, one thing that I've heard a number of folks ask about is, and this applies to kind of the general public as well, is so many of our organizations, whether it's chambers, local municipalities, that sort of thing, really, especially in this part of Michigan, starting in the next couple of weeks is when our event season starts. You know what I mean? Right. Outdoor concerts and festivals and that sort of thing, and a whole lot of those are starting to get shelved. Yep. I know that on your site you talk a little bit about kind of small scale entertainment and that sort of thing. Any thoughts with kind of the best way to deal with kind of that, our big summer festival had to get canceled this year, that sort of thing? Right.
Yeah, and I believe, Travis, again, just kind of my thought is that you will continue to see those large gatherings, those larger scale events being either postponed or canceled, not just over the next month, but I think even moving forward into the next 2-3 months at least. So one of the things that we're suggesting is let's use that as an opportunity to introduce more smaller scale kinds of entertainment and events. And in some cases, maybe it's even guerrilla kinds of events. So For example, it might be the one or the two-person musical performance that just pops up, appears on the street of the district. It might be a magician, a juggler, whatever it is that's out on a street corner just entertaining folks as they stroll around. And this again is where those public spaces, those parks become so important. The idea is that we can still have entertainment, we can still do events, but they need to be produced and rolled out in such a way as to not promote this idea of a gathering, a huge gathering, but actually I think there's some real magic that could happen from this kind of impromptu kinds of entertainment and smaller scale events that just seem to pop up in the environment and offer a surprise. And when you do that, make sure that you are live streaming it. Make sure that you are capturing images to show folks that, hey, you know, we're here, we're back, right? And you can come down, you can stroll, you can find your comfort zone right here in our district. I think it's really part of what we talk about too when we talk about the messaging and really trying to illustrate that experience so that those folks that are naturally inclined to be hesitant to rejoin the mix, so to speak, might have some assurance that, yes, if I do venture out, it's safe, it's comfortable, and I can actually, I might even enjoy a surprise along the way.
Is there anybody on the call that has that's kind of done something down that area that you've kind of found a good solution for how to deal with, you know, events or kind of replace anchor things with maybe some other things that you'd want to share? Be sure to unmute if you want to say anything. Or not, that's okay. That's all right, that's all right. So Nicole, you mentioned something just on chat right now. Do you wanna mention that real quick? What you're thinking about?
So our new amphitheater, we had just built it. We haven't even got to use it yet this year in the village of Middleville. We have a summer movie series scheduled for this year. It's the first time we've done it. And we have all of these huge, well, we have one really huge parking lot right next to the park where the amphitheater is. So we're considering moving that to a drive-in format. As long as people stay in their vehicles, we can have, you know, popcorn vendors out there that are set up separately that people can walk and maintain their social distance. They can walk from, you know, they can sit in their car. It's kind of a novelty thing for some of the adults that are participating. You know, it may bring back some nostalgic feelings from when they were kids and got to do drive-ins. So that's one of the things that we're considering in order to be able to salvage our, sorry, my son is assisting right now. That's one of the things we're considering. That's one of the things we're considering to help with this summer to mitigate that. And if it goes well, we may just do that for all of them. And then we don't really have to worry about those additional, about people being upset about the social distancing measures that we put in place, because that's one of the other concerns that we have, is that people are just going to disregard them, which is really frustrating that we even have to worry about that. But that's unfortunately where we are right now. People are just stressed out. And so we figured that would be a good solution for that, and kind of outside of the box too. So
if I can, real quickly, Nicole, you used a word there that I think is really important, nostalgia. And think about it in this sense. There are folks that are still scared, right? And rightfully so. And there are folks that are going to be, at the same time, they're desperately searching for that, that feel of the way life used to be. And I'm convinced that especially our traditional downtown districts, our historic districts, can provide that experience. It can provide that good, warm, nostalgic kind of feel that folks are desperately going to be wanting as they begin to reemerge from their homes.
Yeah, I think people are going to be looking for things that give them a sense of normalcy. It brings them back to that sense of comfort that they've been longing for. You know, things have been so disrupted that anything that can remind them of, you know, how it used to be before, I think will be a big draw for people.
Agree.
Well, that's the big competitive advantage with our traditional downtown commercial districts, right? Is the experience. It's not a transaction; it's an experience. So, any way to kind of preserve that, I think, will be huge. Yeah.
Jay, I have a question for you. This is Eric, and I serve on two of the economic development organizations in Lake and Oceana, but I also serve in Mason, Manistee, and Mecosta on economic development organizations and 3 chamber organizations. And one of the things I keep on hearing over and over again, and I think you touched on it, and I don't know if it's on your website or not, but when you touched on the kind of the percentages of people and their feelings about re-engaging, and you said like 30% are probably going to go back and feeling normal. You know, I'm going to go engage as I normally would. And then there's that 60 to 70% are going to have probably a varying range of engagement comfort level. And I wonder if there's, you know, do we have a mechanism or an education strategy to help people understand, or some language we can use, or help our businesses use to address some of that comfort level? And so when people are walking in and you can see, do they have a mask on, or do they not have a mask on? Are they hesitant? Are they, so we can help them engage at a comfort level that they're good with, and that the patrons are good with, as well as the employees are good with. Because I think that's going to help that engagement feel more, you know, comfortable on both sides. So do we talk at all about that on your website? Is that something that, are there some tools we can help our businesses with?
Great stuff, Eric. And by the way, do you sleep? I mean, with all those hats that you're wearing there, that's incredible. Really good stuff, Eric. And you know, those examples, those ideas that you threw out. Yes, 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 yes. Amen. Really good stuff. I mentioned earlier that, you know, it's really important that we begin even now today, communicating to folks what we're doing, to, you know, the actions that we're taking to enhance their safety and their comfort level coming down. The study, or at least one of the most recent studies that I referred to, actually came from Lapeer Main Street in Michigan. So you might jump on their Facebook page. I think they have some of that information posted there. In terms of actual tools to help folks do that, that is on our to-do list. Now, I know that other folks are going to be rolling out tools. I believe Iowa, the Small Business Development Center in Iowa is going to be rolling out, for example, some templates for posters and signage that businesses can use to help communicate those messages. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping that those might be available next week. The other thing I would just share, and I can't share a lot, but watch for some things coming from Michigan Main Street.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jay. And thanks, Eric, for the comments. Claudia Ressel, I'm probably not saying that right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is from Pentwater, and I'm on council and vice chair DDA and a professional volunteer here. And one of the things we have in Pentwater is Movies on the Green. And so I just wanted to share how we're talking about changing it up. We're talking about using a FM transmitter and making it into a drive-in. Using a large parking lot and you do it that way. So I just wanted to, just mention how an example of thinking outside the box and just changing the same thing up to make it safe.
Great
plan. No, good stuff. Good stuff.
Travis, if I can, real quickly, just kind of going back, I forgot to mention in response to Eric's question. We're doing our very best right now to try to keep the website up to date. If you haven't already, hop on over to our the Reopen Main Street Facebook page. We're able to share examples that we're finding in more rapid fashion there, and almost on I guess on a daily basis at this point. So if you haven't already, please do jump on Reopen Main Street. The Reopen Main Street Facebook page. And if you're so inclined, give us a like or share an idea or an example with us there as well.
All right. Mitch, up in Ludington, you had a comment.
Yeah, so we, in partnering with our downtown Ludington board and the chamber, we issued a survey out to, we've got 2,000 responses on a survey that was issued to the CVB listserv, downtown's listserv, and whatever emails we had, that was specific to customers and visitors as to what their expectations are, what's going to get them out, what are they afraid of, what are their expectations. Pretty interesting. And now we're going to do the opposite and do a survey with businesses, knowing that information now that that's been shared. What are some of the things that they're going to be doing as they open, so that then we can share that information throughout the entire network, but then also try to help in any way that we can. So, you know, is that the Alfresco Diner, Alfresco retail shops, working with MDOT? We've already pre-asked those questions of them to see about trunk line usage. Just trying to be ahead of the game, because obviously we're all stuck without being able to go outside for retail and those sorts of things, or attend those, at least until the end of the month is what we're looking at here in Michigan. But how can we be better prepared for that is the kind of the route that we're trying to take at this point.
Yeah, good stuff, Mitchell. You know, if you would be willing to share the results of your survey with me, I would love to see that. Good work.
I saw Asheville, you just posted something. You mind, I think that's a great point. You want to verbalize that?
Or no?
No?
I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute. Are you
there we
talking
go.
to me, Travis?
Yeah, yep.
Just, I can't stress the importance of communication enough. Yesterday, I tried to enter a retailer. It was in a different city. It doesn't matter where it was. And they stopped me at the door and they said, ma'am, you can't come in here until after 9 a.m. because you're not over 60. Well, and I appreciate that they had a separate time set aside for the more elderly population. It would have been nice to have that communicated. And I didn't mind waiting, but if you're going to do something like that, you know, over communicate it. And I think that's an overreaching theme, whether it's me talking to my Sunday school parents in my church, or a business talking to their potential customers. Communicate, so that when your customer or your friend or whoever shows up at your place of business, they know what to expect, and they know, you know, they have this, you've gone the extra mile to pre-plan and prepare them for what they're going to encounter when they walk into your business.
Yeah, really good point. Really good point. That's been kind of a recurring theme in all three of these sessions so far is, you know, communicate. There's no way to overdo that at this point. And speaking of communication, there are a couple of questions that came up that were kind of related. So I guess I'll kind of repack the question. We've got, you know, quite a few chamber folks and DDA folks, associations, that sort of thing on here. I guess what are you guys doing to kind of collaboratively with maybe your merchants, your businesses, that sort of thing, to kind of leverage everybody's networks to kind of get the word out that either we are open, these are our hours. I've seen some pretty innovative things that some chambers have done in terms of sharing out what restaurants have been doing takeout and delivery and that sort of thing. It seems like there's some pretty innovative things going on there. Is there anybody doing some cool stuff that they'd want to share? Especially as we talk about ramping up and, you know, more and more businesses reopening.
I can talk about the takeout and delivery. We created that in Berry County, and we just created the page on Facebook, and it's completely taken on a life of its own now. So we aren't even maintaining it anymore. The community is posting pictures every time they have something to eat. Every time they go into a restaurant, they talk about the experience. So it's become reviews, photos. There are hundreds and hundreds of posts on there. And so we thought that worked so well. We created another one, just we are open, and now we're allowing people to go in and talk about what their new hours are, what safety precautions they've put in place and that kind of thing. And that's just starting to take off in the same way.
Jennifer, you're saying that individual member businesses are going on there and posting, these are our hours and this is what we're doing safety wise?
Yes.
Okay. And that goes back to what you were saying, Jay, in terms of comfort level and communicating that, right?
Absolutely. Y'all are nailing it. I mean, that communication and let's face it, I mean, in anything that we do, communication is always going to be key. And I say that speaking from having sat in the chair of a Main Street director and having sat in the chair of a chamber director. You really can't communicate too much right now. And so the ability to use the tools that are available to do that. And I love how folks, the businesses are and everyone is just jumping in on the website and updating those hours and such. I love that approach, because even on our website we suggested, find a way for businesses to easily communicate with you, the changes that they're making, the hours that might be adjusted, and the special amenities maybe they're offering. The fact that you have folks just doing that on their own and is more a grassroots effort, I think is a wonderful strategy.
This is Eric again. I got another crazy question. So one of the things that I have noticed in the communities that I'm serving is a real strong and grassroots, as you said, Jay, support for and really committed support for the local businesses again, and more so than, hey, I want to order on Amazon, or I want to order from whatever. So in this spirit of that kind of mentality, are we seeing a resurgence of buy local campaigns with the idea of reopening Main Street? And do people have some creative ideas of a buy local campaign along with this reopening Main Street? And I'd love to hear some great ideas, because a lot of the communities I have had some old kind of on the shelf, dusty buy local campaigns that may need some refreshing. But I'll tell you, everybody I know and in every community, they're donating to these. Hey, I'm buying from this restaurant to go serve the nurses out at the hospital, or I'm buying pizzas at the local pizza place to go deliver here, and they want to help. I think there's a great temperature to buy local again. I think we could capture on that to really have some sustainability on that. Is there any ideas and recommendations that the groups are seeing or have started to build some framework around? I'd love to hear about that.
Do you want me to jump in first, Travis, and then we can, while the others?
Yeah, go for it. So, Eric, I haven't heard a crazy question yet, so you can just keep chiming in here. This is all good stuff. It's kind of funny you mentioned that, because more than one person has said, that reopened Main Street logo, it even kind of resembles a flag. And I said, yeah, that wasn't actually by accident. And I think this whole notion of supporting local, buying local, even if it's unspoken, I think it's
permeating, so to speak. Being real honest, in the past, I have not been a huge fan of some of the buy local campaigns that run, for a couple of reasons. One, in some cases, the way that it was presented, the messaging that was part of it, it was almost like you were trying to guilt trip folks, or suggest that, you know, we deserve this, you owe it to us, kind of thing. The other thing is that, so if I'm a community that depends on tourism, Ludington, the others that are part of our group here today, what does that message say to me as the visitor when I see the buy local thing? Does that mean I should turn around and go back home? So I, you know, just again, kind of sharing my own thoughts on that. But I too, Eric, would love to hear the thoughts of others or what they might be doing in that regard.
Yeah, and I think it's a packaging thing. Maybe it's not, you know, only buy local, but how do we repackage those a not only the locals but the visitors too? And I think there's a good temperature right now for, you know, finding a better way. So,
agreed.
Anybody have anything they want to chime in with the buy local thing? I know I've seen a number of chambers do, you know, some creative things with their, whether it's local chamber bucks or Mitch indicated their DDA and chamber were matching gift card purchases. Anything people want to mention on that?
Travis, this is Linda Maupin. Can you hear me?
Yep.
One thing, so part of Berry County, we have, for those of you that don't know, I'm Linda from Berry County. And one of the things that we have are kind of smaller burgs, I would call them. So in one where I live, they have set up, tried to highlight a restaurant business every day, and it changes, and people can donate to serve 4 meals for free to someone else. So there's a group that's gotten together, and if you would like to have an eat out or pick up meal, you can call them and just say, I need 4 meals. And then whoever's donated for that day, they would say, okay, it's from this pizza place, or, you know, 2 Jacks. They have multiple options. So, and I think that is something that will continue after COVID-19. We've been doing this now for like 48, 49 days in a row. Someone has always donated and someone has always needed it. And it's kind of, you know, you're not eating out as much now, so you have the money to donate. So it's worked out well in our community. So I think things like that will continue, and that will highlight some of the open Main Street.
That's good stuff, Linda. You know what it reminds me of? You know, one of the toughest jobs out there right now, and there are a lot of tough jobs, and my heart goes out to all of those frontline workers, but one of the very toughest jobs right now is being a truck driver. Because those folks just don't have an easy way of even getting a meal right now. There's actually a restaurant just up the road here in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, that has taken it upon themselves to make sure that truckers can get a meal. And so they're even meeting them at the truck stops, meeting them at the way stations, meeting them at the rest areas. And what's happened is kind of that same idea, which is really cool. There are people in the community and throughout the Nashville Metro now that are contributing to that cause, so that those truck drivers don't have to pay for their meals either.
Mm-hmm.
Cool stuff.
It is. It really is.
Julie, did you have something you wanted to add about the buy local piece?
I did, yes, sorry. My dogs are just
sorry.
Being a little crazy. Give me just a minute.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I did want, anybody have anything else regarding the kind of buy local? And there were a couple other topics I wanted to kind of transition to, if nobody else had anything else to mention on this topic.
I did have a question for Jay on if he had any kind of recommended tools or resources for small businesses who are maybe not really set up for online sales and need to strengthen that. even like online ordering for takeout. If you have any examples of communities forming a shared platform for their downtown businesses to work together and from one platform.
Yeah, it's a great question, Jody. I will just share with you that I am not the e-commerce geek or expert, even though I'm a huge advocate for it. I think that businesses of all kinds need to be thinking about, if they haven't already, be thinking about incorporating an online component to their business models. Like I said earlier, businesses that just go about business as usual when things do begin to spring open are still going to be at a huge disadvantage. So, I mean, there certainly are user-friendly kinds of website building tools and e-commerce platforms out there available through Wix, I know, is one, and some others, and there are probably folks joining us here today who might have even better suggestions for that. You're right on it. I mean, it's going to be a vital component of, I think, just about every business model moving forward. And on the website, we even do talk about in the retail, in the service industry, in the restaurants, and even those arts-related kind of organizations, how they need to be adapting and experimenting again with those different online tools.
Chelsea, do you want to chime in real quick on what you posted, which is a direct response to that?
So my day job, I'm a commercial lender, and I have a few restaurant clients, and the Toast app has been one that I've seen several use, and they've reported that's pretty easy to set up with their menus, and it allows really, seamless payments and everything. You can do, delivery or carry out through that, but I imagine that'll stick with several of those who, set it up for this situation, and it's great for, future business as well. So I've encouraged others to take a look at that. And what I like about it is, it's one common app that folks can download and then see all of the restaurants light up locally that are using it. So that's the one example I'm familiar with.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm available now. Sorry, my son's preschool teacher just dropped off a sign in our yard that says, "My teacher misses me." So my dog's went a little crazy there. But yeah, I have a couple of things that I wanted to share from some just experiences I've had locally, and then some webinars that I've been joining. So on the Buy Local specifically, one of the webinars that I was on earlier this week, basically the person who was facilitating that said, doing a Buy Local campaign is essentially critical for the success and the reopening of our small communities, but also understanding that most of our rural communities are really tourism focused and tourism based. To your point, Jay, we don't want to turn tourists away, but I think if we get creative enough, we can kind of do it two different ways, right? So you're focusing on your local residents of your community. So whether you're utilizing social media, like I just bought my Mother's Day presents for my mom and my in-laws, or my mother-in-law, through Facebook by commenting on some posts that a retailer had done, and I paid through Facebook, and she's dropping it off at my porch tonight. So getting creative like that, I think, is really going to work. And then one of our local restaurants has added online ordering, and they've been open for 15 years, and that has never been a priority for them, but now they did, and I was able to order lunch the other day really seamlessly doing it that way. And then focusing on tourism, one of the things that I've been learning about recently is really kind of what it's going to look like, especially in our areas. So focusing on the natural elements, kind of getting back to that slow travel, trying to focus on that family time and getting out into nature and all of those different things. And then also, well, you come to Newaygo County to hike on the North Country Trail, go ahead and stop at, Riverstop Cafe, because they are offering no contact delivery to your car, or, just kind of packaging those couple things together to highlight what our businesses are doing to encourage that social distancing and everything, to help people feel safe as they're coming to visit us. And that's it.
Yeah, that is awesome. Really, really good points. Yeah, I think that underscoring I think what you said, buy local campaign is going to be essential for any, kind of reopening of a commercial district. That's something for all of us to kind of take away from this, definitely. Time is flying by, but there were a couple points I wanted to make sure we got to. We've got a lot of community foundation folks on the call this morning, kind of throughout our region. And I know, speaking for myself, I've seen just a whole lot of really innovative involvement from the philanthropic sector in what's going on now in our communities and our businesses. Anybody from that realm want to chat real quick about anything they're doing? No?
Hi, this is Tammy Carey. I'm putting my video on here, and I've been outside in this cool weather, so I'm dressed for a day off, which is actually it is a day off for me. But I really wanted to join this call, and I'm so glad I did. I'm with the Oceana Community Foundation. We're also home to Pentwater and Silver Lake Sand Dunes, so we do have a lot of tourism in our area. And as Claudia was talking, I was texting her saying, hey, let me know if you need any assistance on any technology for switching over to a drive-in format for your movies on the green, which used to take place in the Village Park, because I'm sure I'd have some interested donors that would jump on board to help you out. But a lot of the foundations have urgent needs funds that they've established with the help of donors. And actually Eric Rustad here from the Consumers Foundation was really generous with 30 community foundations throughout the state of Michigan, providing a grant and additional support to more foundations to help on a business level. And so I've been very busy with helping on the human side of this pandemic and really trying to get food on the table and help with mental health needs. But the economic development side has been very important to me, and trying to figure out how we can step into that space with the funds that we have available. Other foundations may have, hundreds of thousands of dollars available or $1 million available. Well, I don't have that kind of money. And our opportunity to say match an effort like the Right Place did on a business loan basis is a little limited, but I really like the idea of helping communities or villages and towns to reopen themselves, to come up with some sort of campaign that we can assist with, or help events to be safer. There's some specific needs around that. So I encourage anyone on this call to reach out to their local community foundation and brainstorm those ideas. They might not think of a foundation right away as a source for partnership on those situations, but we are thinking out of the box just as much as you are thinking out of the box. And I think this could be a great opportunity to leverage some. It could be, not a lot of money, because we know social media is kind of free. So, but are there other things that we could be doing to help communities communicate and market and as a whole? Because as a community foundation is responsible for typically a whole county. So we're looking at a really broad perspective. So reach out to your local community foundations and brainstorm together. I encourage you to do that. Thank you.
And then Emily Mader, you wanted to, I think I saw Bonnie on the call too, but feel free.
Oh, is Bonnie on? I didn't see her. I'm on the
Go ahead,
Community Foundation as well as the Route 66 Business District. And in Nashville, we took our money that we would spend on Sandyland, a concert we've been trying to do every year. We redirected those dollars to the Community Foundation to set up a local loan fund for the 49073 zip code for businesses in that. And we just really wanted to put our money where our mouth was, of being local businesses supporting each other. And then the community foundation stepped alongside us and matched our dollars. So we're looking at doing a second round of loans, because as these retailers try to open up, like they're going to need capital or things to have products to even put on their shelves and or food for their restaurants. We just don't know what the needs will be, but we are very blessed to be able to partner in that way. And yeah, it took some creativity, but it really worked well for both all the things involved. So
yeah. This is Bonnie.
Oh.
And Emily, yes, is on my board, and it's wonderful to have her. And I'm so glad she's on this call today, because not only does Emily really represent her local community, but she also helps us think about small villages within our county and how we can help. And I think that when we look at what a community foundation is and what it can do, being creative in the way in which you work is probably the most important thing. And being able to be responsive. So Jennifer came to me after we were done with the MEDC distributions and vetting those loans. And she said, I really want to set up a grant fund that people can make gifts to. So she applied to create a special project fund under the Community Foundation's umbrella. And we now have the Berry Business Bridge Fund that will make small grants to local small businesses in ways that potentially can help keep the door open for, maybe a service provider like a cosmetologist or something of that nature, or who knows what will happen in our recovery phase. And as we think about where we are right now, which is just we're in like phase 3 of 6 phases, the governor said yesterday, and I think a lot about what's going to happen in that last phase, and how do we then take money that has been contributed to the community foundation and redeploy it, instead of using it as an investment in Wall Street. How can we redeploy it as an investment in Main Street? So we're doing some things right now to look at that, how we can utilize some of those dollars in a way different way than we've ever thought about before. So Emily, look out for that educational board meeting on Thursday. Yeah. And we've made almost $86,000 in loans from our community foundation to small businesses. And that's on top of what they got from the MEDC grants. So we're really excited about the way that we're able to partner with the Economic Alliance, and we actually pay them to administer our Impact Investment Committee. So thank you very much, Jennifer and Travis, when you were here as well, for being willing to work with us.
Yeah, collaboration is the name of the game, right? Definitely.
Rising tides lifts all boats.
That's right. I've heard somebody say that before. Yeah. Yep. One thing I wanted to get to that somebody asked earlier, and I know we're running a tad late. Childcare is something that is going to look potentially drastically different moving forward. Is anybody dabbling in that space right now, or going down that road of figuring out how to do childcare in potentially a different way, co-ops or anything like that? Just thought I'd throw it out there.
I've got a 20-year-old I'm still trying to get out of the house. So if anyone has suggestions, please chime in.
I was going to say, so don't do that, right? Yeah.
Travis.
Yeah.
I know we're both users or familiar with our local YMCA has a daycare program. They've really had to put that on hiatus with the schools shutting down. It's one of their main facilities is one of the elementary schools, but just talking yesterday, they're exploring partnering with one of the local churches to actually host some summer daycare programming. So I know that's in the works, but kind of a outside the box thing. There's these big church buildings that have capacity all week long. So I thought that was a nice potential plan.
Mm-hmm.
This is Jeff Wilhelm from Greenville, and our Mount Calvary Child Care is reopening on Monday after being closed because of the decreasing census. But parents that are working from home or working, going back to work, definitely need child care. So we've been in touch with the parents and talking to them about what their needs are, and determined that we were able to reopen this Monday, and help the parents as much as we can. And hopefully our churches can reopen soon as well.
So Jeff, were you saying that you had previously closed your childcare just because of lack of demand, but now you're seeing the demand go up because of the new norm?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, we might see that. We might see that in a lot of other communities. So interesting example. We're a couple minutes after. So any official closing thoughts from you, Jay?
Wow, we covered a lot of ground in a short time. I think in terms of closing thoughts, I mean, we hit on so many great topics, and you know, that communications piece again is really key, and that communications piece is going to be such an important part again of enhancing folks' comfort level. I guess in terms of where we go from here. Again, we're all learning as we move along. There are no, Travis mentioned earlier, there isn't a silver bullet. There aren't any real solid clad answers at this point. So as you're moving forward, remember we're all in the same space. We're all learning as we go along right now. But we're going to get through this. And I think in some respects, we're going to be better on the other side. So. Thank you,
Awesome.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. And just to wrap things up, we do have, next week, we do have 4 more of these roundtable sessions. Monday is focused on retail. Tuesday is restaurants and dining. Wednesday is service businesses. And Thursday is rural tourism. So if you haven't signed up for those and you're interested, feel free to do so using the same registration system you did to get into this, and feel free to share that. We would love for more of our retailers in our small towns in our area to be able to participate in a conversation like this and learn from each other on Monday, and same thing with our restaurant owners and stuff on Tuesday. So please feel free to share that. And based on how these go over the course of this kind of experimental project we're doing, we've had really good response, and so we may end up doing some more. So you'll receive an email after the session today with a link to the recording, but then also a brief handful of questions survey about this. And then also, if you'd be interested in doing another one of these in the future, any sort of topics that you think would be good to cover as we move forward. So thanks again, everybody, for being here. Jay, really appreciate your time and your expertise. Thank you, everybody, for the dialogue. I know we didn't get quite to everything, but hopefully we can have some more of these in the future. So enjoy your Friday. Have a good weekend. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.